All right, now let's get into this Nick Fuentes cooking this libertarian for you fucking English majors in here, you know.
Things before
Adam.
Yeah, do you
But
mind?
this looks like an old interview. This is woman propaganda. But yeah, this is like an old interview because this looks like 2018, 2019 Nick. Some young shit.
I want to respond to a few things
No,
before.
did he?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's so much in there.
There's
First of all, Nick, think about your parents for a second. When you say that all drugs should be illegal, because if it wasn't for alcohol, you probably wouldn't be here right now. You say that drugs are bad, that universally have no positive benefit for society, they're bad for productivity. The most popular drug in America is a productivity drug. It's called caffeine. People use it every day, all the time, by choice. It enhances their lives. People use marijuana all the time. It enhances their lives. It makes it better for so many aspects of their health to be able to have that freedom to decide what drugs are you know.
I would never say it
in their
enhances
own
my
best
life.
interest. But this
It's kind of crazy.
This almost isn't a debate anymore. I have to wonder if Nick's like playing a caricature of a statist here. If this is like a libertarian fantasy to get to debate someone so ridiculous who would say that all drugs should be illegal and government knows what's best. I mean, this is amazing. But the debate is like lower to this point where it's like, you live in fantasy land. No, you live in fantasy land. No, you need to get back to reality. No, you need to get back to reality. But I mean, the fundamental difference here with Nick, and I think he said this in his answer to that last question about government knows best, and he said this on his podcast. And by the way, someone pointed out that Nick mentioned me in one of his podcasts recently.
What's up, guys? I've got a debate for you. This is young Nick Fuentes versus a libertarian. Title of the video is Nick Fuentes Debunks Libertarianism. Haven't watched the whole thing, but I can already tell that this balding man is about to get wrecked. So let's keep going.
And the first thing he said is that my audience, and I'm going to quote him here, he said that my audience of conservatarian who believe this kind of stuff like taxation is theft. And it's like, dude, really? Don't you have an argument? You have to just go and call my fans conservatives? I mean, that's so much worse than calling them conservatarian but you should call them like status quo, establishmentarian. They're a conservative is defined as promoting.
Oh, we're all watching the same
of the existing social order. Like, no, we know that humanity can do better. Seriously. But this thing about like when you say government knows best, basically you're saying I know best because you're not really for capitalism. You're for central planning. You say I'm not really for. You say this in your podcast. I'm not really for capitalism. I'm for whatever's in the interest of the public good. The thing is, you're the guy who has the intellectual arrogance, is it, that leads you to say, I know what's better for you than you know for yourself.
Yes.
And that's just that. I'm sorry. That's hilarious. Like you get to be the central planner. You're the one. And basically you're saying that I'm going to use government to force my idea of what's good for you on you. You sir, are what's wrong with the world. You represent the culture of statism, of insecure people using violence through government to control other people who are so insecure about their own sexual reproductive strategy that attack other people for their sexual. You have to attack fags. In your podcast, you even talk about going after like that's your thing. You go.
Yes.
Hello. Gay people, fags. You are going after fags. Like
America's number one Chadcast worldwide.
So much obvious, behind this, but what it is that fundamentally you think you're better than everybody else, and that you can decide policy and use government to force it on people and justify it by saying might makes right. Thank gosh you will never be elected to public office in the United States. At least I hope.
That's the pot calling the kettle black, right? I think you would know a lot about people who would never be elected to public office, considering you are one of those people. But if I could get a rebuttal in this, I think it's just hilarious to me.
I think we just yapping for like 30 minutes.
And let's take this piece by piece. Your first claim, it's fascinating. You say, well, this is an argument that's degenerated to the point where you're just saying you're ridiculous. No, you're ridiculous. And it's funny because I gave a very cogent rebuttal to your statement that drugs should. I said, at what point, besides some arbitrary determination, can we objectively establish at what point a person owns themselves and to what extent? I think we could all agree it's ridiculous, the idea.
If you're involved in a car accident
Goddamn
in Georgia,
fucking ads.
you'll need to report the accident to your insurance company if you want to file a claim under your policy for injury.
Then an infant totally can make competent decisions, and a toddler could make totally competent decisions. And then at what point it's arbitrary? And I will say you didn't answer that in your rebuttal. So that's the first point. You say that it's degenerated to name calling and this and that, and you used your entire rebuttal to my rebuttal to kind of grandstand about, he's a
You repeated yourself
Wait, I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. You're going to have to allow me to respond. And then you go on to say, well, I'm a caricature of a statist. I am a statist. I am 100% a statist. I am a conservative in the most traditional sense. And I used to be like you. I used to be a libertarian, but then I kind of gained just a little bit of experience in the real world. And I came to understand why it is necessary that force exists, because we know what is good for people. We know what is good for society. And that's the biggest myth about liberalism in general. I mean, this is what we go back to John Stuart Mill and the utilitarians. John Stuart Mill said the reason we need liberty is not because liberty is sufficient in and of itself to justify a free government. That's not what he said. He did not say we need liberty because it's a no-brainer. Liberty is awesome. He said we need liberty so that we can figure out what is the best way for people to live, because, well, we should be able to experiment, and we might not think it's a good way to live, but maybe it is. Well, I mean, that's entirely fiction. I'm a Catholic. I'm a student of history. And then I think we can basically understand. I think if we have a competent regime that is in power, they know what is in the interest of the public. For example, in Russia, I think Vladimir Putin knows what is good for the Russian people. I think in the case of many countries, in China, Xi Jinping, in Turkey, Erdogan, all the tyrants of the world, they know what is good and they execute the will of the people. And that is the task of government. Now, you're over there saying he thinks all drugs should be illegal. He means Tylenol and aspirin and Advil. Of course, I was talking about illicit drugs, currently
Fucking
illicit,
idiot.
which go from marijuana all the way up through amphetamines. And there are pharmaceutical applications, and they're given as pharmaceuticals, not sold on the street, not sold for recreational purposes in dispensaries in Colorado. And these are the drugs which I think should remain illegal. Alcohol, if it were my perfect world, if I were running the state and the state was absolute and it was theocratic in many ways, alcohol would be illegal. I think marijuana would be illegal. I think a lot of things would be illegal because we know that they're not good for people. Alcohol, marijuana are substitutes for reconciliation, or rather communion with God. They're a substitute. They are filling a God-sized hole. And you could say, oh, well, they're for recreation or for and I understand there are some uses for that. But by and large, we find that marijuana leads to horrible effects in the brain. I'm not a scientist, but I've seen many studies, and I know lots of people who have taken marijuana regularly. And we know it's probably not the best thing for productivity. And so I think that's just generally that's the fundamental contention, is that you believe
marijuana makes you slow and unproductive and lazy. So what niggas don't understand is that, like, when you smoke, you either have to, like, which niggas don't, which is why I don't ever tell niggas you should smoke, cause like just cause I can do something doesn't mean you can do it. So like I said, marijuana makes you lazy as fuck, bro. Makes you want to go to sleep, makes you want to sit on your ass and eat all day and shit. Like, it makes you a lazy fuck. Like, what Nick is saying about it is true. So that's why I love hearing when people say shit like that, because it's like, that's true. That's really how it makes you feel. But and most guys can't overcome that, which is why I don't even tell niggas, I don't like, you'll never hear me gloating about would I like, oh yeah, this is like, no, that's not something you gloat about or anything, something like that. Like Nick said, it should be illegal. Shit, I agree.
And your vision of human nature is effectively tabula rasa because you are a Lockean. You believe that, well, people are basically a blank slate and they're fun. They're born good. They're born wanting peace and wanting love. And also, because you are a libertarian, I would assume you believe in neoclassical price theory, which posits that human beings are rational economic actors. We come up with all these like weird epistemological economic arguments where they say that, well, man is a completely rational actor. It's a marginal human being who is making decisions based on cost and quality. And this is why human beings are rational. And this is why we have an economic philosophy. But we know that's entirely not true. We know that people on average are around 100 IQ, and that varies certainly by a number of factors, including race. And we know that people cannot really be trusted to make totally competent, rational decisions. Now, we could use markets to economize scarce resources, and that's one of the best ways to direct resources in efficient ways. But to say that, well, the people know what is best for the public good, for the long-term good, for the health of society, is simply not borne out by the facts. We see this with free trade, for example. We have a massive trade deficit with the world because we have lowered all our trade barriers. And what is the result? Consumers do not choose American goods. Consumers choose foreign goods. And you might say, oh, well, who cares? It's goods and services flowing around. Isn't that a great thing? Well, what's happening in the long term is that we're selling off all of our investments. We're selling off real estate. We're selling off stocks. We're selling off debt. This is horrible for our economy. This is horrible for our nation. We're selling off all these long-term projects in exchange for short-term consumption. And that's really what the free market does. Is it prioritizes short-term consumption, impulsive, hedonistic short-term consumption at the expense of the longer term or the more total public good. And that's just one example, but that's what the public does at large. So that's why we need the strong hand of the state to enforce order, to execute the will of the public. And so, yeah, I am a statist. It is a caricature, but it is I think you're a caricature in many ways of the anarchist position. And that's why it's a good meeting, because it's a dialectical opposites.
Adam.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 40.
Oh, he must be like the moderator. Okay.
All right. You don't want to throw anything in there, Al?
I do. I want to say it's been an excellent show. I think we'll go for maybe more 15 more minutes or so. I got two questions that I'm personally interested in hearing the answer to. We'll start with Nick on this one. Which is more important, to build the wall or to end the Federal Reserve?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably build the wall. Build the wall, because, and it's funny, that actually goes back to something Adam was saying. Adam, he said this before. He said, well, government can't do anything right. No, government can be awesome if you have somebody who is competent. Our current government is full of idiots. It's full of people who don't want to get anything done. So if we have
this had to be 2016, Nick, when Trump first started coming in. This had to be like 2016, 2017, Nick.
Is a man of action who can truly execute the will of the public and is competent. Then we can have someone who builds the wall. And we've seen in Hungary, in Israel, walls work. The wall in Israel shut down illegal immigration, reduced it by 95%. That's effective. And so we need to build a wall, reduce our immigration. And in doing so, we get the demographics of the country under control. We don't want all these low IQ immigrants to come in here and take our stuff and eat our food and be a leech on the public dole. We don't need that. If that continues, we won't have a country in 50 years. And forget government for a moment. We won't have a nation. A nation absent a government is a single unified people, linguistically, by ancestry, by custom, by religion. We need a nation again. We're right now, in some ways, Adam is right. We have a tyrannical state and just this mass of just an incoherent, what Teddy Roosevelt called the polyglot boarding house of the world, and a state presiding over it. We need a nation, and we need a national government with national vigor and energy, and it starts with the wall. So I would say Federal Reserve, to end that, is extremely important, because that's how you shut down the welfare state and the military industrial complex. But the wall has to come first.
Adam.
Yeah.
What's your response to that, sir? Obviously, you're going to choose over the Federal Reserve over the wall. And can you tell us why?
I don't want either the Federal Reserve or the wall.
Okay, that makes sense.
We get rid of both of them.
All right, cool.
I want freedom of money and I want freedom of movement.
Cool.
That's crazy.
The libertarian guy was speechless, huh?
Nigga was,
Who do you think won that debate? Leave a comment. I agree with Nick on this one. We do need the government to, yeah, like right now we have a huge government that costs us a ton of money, full of women, full of minorities, full of people who hate
Don't do
America,
shit
full
for
of people
us.
who hate white people. Our current government sucks. It's useless. It's parasitical.
and when I say us, I'm talking about American people. I'm not just talking about black people, you fucking monkeys.
Us, the taxpayer. But government could be good. Government could be great. He was saying people aren't rational, or people don't necessarily make the best decisions for their lives. Yeah, if
I agree.
you've been on the planet long enough, if you've walked around, that's very obviously true.
Right.
So I agree, we do need a government and laws to kind of tell people how to be. A lot of people, probably most people, need to be told how to be. I think the
Right,
perfect
how to act.
example is women. We give women all this freedom. We give them the right to vote, let them have jobs, let them take vacations, and what do? They're no longer interested in men. They're not getting married. They're not having kids. They have a stupid corporate 9 to 5. They're girl bossing around, taking vacations as often as they can. If you ask, I forget the exact study, but they did a survey polling men, what are your top priorities in life? And for men, getting rich and having a family is like in their top 3 priorities in life. Career is up there. And then for women, what are your top priorities in life? It's like travel, have fun, hang out with my friends. Just a bunch of stupid, wasting
bullshit.
time stuff. Women need to be having children, okay? We cannot trust women with freedom. Our ancestors all understood this. There's a reason
So we
women have
cannot
been,
trust them with
you know,
freedom.
basically
Oh,
oppressed
God.
or treated like property throughout all of human history. And we now know this more.
We
than
see
ever,
why.
right?
God damn it.
Seeing how women in America are today. They cannot be trusted with freedom. And actually, they'd be a lot happier if the white male patriarchy returned to America. I think women they'd maybe go kicking and screaming. Wouldn't matter. We can overpower them.
Oh, God.
And then eventually they'd actually be a lot happier and they'd be sane again. I think they'd be less crazy.
Yeah.
If
They'd be
were
so
put
much
in the proper
happier.
place. So that's my opinion.
They'd be so happy.
Leave
I
a
promise
comment,
you.
let me know what you think, and please subscribe to the channel. We're out here reacting to Nick Fuentes clips. We're
Bitches just
reacting
walking
to
around, no
Gates
guidance,
debate.
don't know what the fuck to do. They'd be so happy when you tell them. I'm telling you, they'd be so happy. What? This is what I gotta do? Okay, yes, sir. Like, they'd be so happy. I'm trying to tell you, they'd be so happy with the guidance. But yeah, nice little clips today. Nothing too major. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm pulling up the wrong shit. Okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah, nothing too major. That had that nigga quiet as fuck after he said that shit. But yeah, he was speaking facts though. Like sometimes you got to get to a point where like kind of have to do. It's kind of like what parents are for. It's like you kind of have to tell niggas how kids how to be, or they're just gonna be however or niggas are gonna act however they want to act. You kind of have to tell them. And niggas, most of these niggas walking around as fucking children. So it's like, yeah, I get it, bro. I get that. So yeah, I definitely agree with what Nick was saying. So